to surprise my bestie Jenny. I took an early morning flight and arrived at her place by 7 a.m. I entered using the passcode, but my sleep-loving bestie was nowhere to be found, accompanied by the sound of running water. A man's voice came from the bathroom. "The door's not locked. Come in." That voice. Why does it sound a bit like my husband, Zack? Chapter 1. I was startled by that sudden thought, then let out a self-mocking laugh. Voices always get distorted in bathrooms anyway. And besides, Zack and Jenny have never gotten along. How could they possibly be in there together? Still, was Jenny really doing something this bold behind my back? When she comes back, I definitely need to ask her properly. As I was thinking this, the sound of running water suddenly stopped, and someone started turning the bathroom doorknob. I quickly turned my back and called out, "I'm not Jenny. I'm her bestie Luciana." The person inside seemed to freeze. The doorknob stopped moving, and everything went completely silent. I felt unbearably awkward. Jenny, that girl, she got herself a boyfriend and didn't even tell me? I nearly walked in on a live performance. I made a beeline for the door, trying to escape, but before I reached it, it opened on its own. Jenny stood there with breakfast in hand, her face full of surprise. "Lucy, why are you back early?" I winked at her. "Isn't it because I figured out your little secret?" Jenny was just about to speak, when a man's voice interrupted from the bathroom. "Jenny, come here." This voice sounded different from before. Seems like I really did mishear it. Jenny responded and walked over, and I instinctively turned my head to glance. A broad-shouldered, narrow-waisted figure in just a towel flashed by. That muscular build, the classic gym-honed body, did look a bit like my husband. What's going on today? Why do I keep thinking of Zack? Could it be because I missed him too much after being away for 2 months on this business trip? Zack's always been clingy. Jenny used to joke that he was my human keychain, never leaving my side. This time, I had to be gone for 2 months, and his face immediately turned gloomy. We'd never been apart this long since getting married. But his company was in a critical phase. There was no way he could travel with me. It took a lot of coaxing to calm him down, and even then, there was a condition: we had to video call every day. If he found out I came home early and went to Jenny's first, he'd definitely get jealous. I still remember when I introduced Zack to Jenny after we got together. They clashed instantly. Jenny thought Zack was too cold, completely lacking human warmth. Zack found Jenny too noisy, said being around her felt like stepping into a wet market. I was stuck in the middle, totally torn. Eventually, once they got used to each other, they started competing for my attention, getting jealous in turns. It was ridiculous. But now, with Jenny having a boyfriend, things should finally settle down. The 4 of us could even hang out together sometime. As I was happily imagining that future, a sudden argument broke out from Jenny's bedroom. My heart dropped. I rushed over and knocked on the door. "Jenny, what's going on?" Chapter 2. The argument stopped, but no one opened the door even after I knocked until my hand hurt. Worried something might have happened to Jenny. I was about to kick the door open when it finally swung open. Jenny stood in the doorway, eyes red. I rushed in and held her up. "What happened? Did you fight with your boyfriend?" I looked around, but there was no sign of the man. "Where is he? Tell me what happened. I'll help you set him straight." Jenny lowered her head. "Yeah, if only you'd come in a little earlier." Suddenly, there was a beep, the sound of the electronic door unlocking. I was about to go check, when Jenny grabbed my arm. "My boyfriend had something urgent. He left already." Her bedroom had 2 doors. He probably used the other one to avoid me. I was starting to feel a little annoyed. "Jenny, are you treating me like a stranger? You didn't even tell me you had a boyfriend." I almost had an awkward encounter with him. "Who is he? Do I know him?" Jenny leaned against the window, with the light casting shadows across her face. I couldn't make out her expression. "Because of his job, we can't go public for now." That only made me more curious. "His job? Is he a celebrity or something?" "Don't tell me it's Marco?" I made a dramatic fangirl face, and Jenny finally burst into laughter, jumping over to cover my mouth. "You gossip queen, do you ever stop asking questions?" After a bit of teasing, Jenny seemed to feel better. She said she needed to freshen up. And I had just sat down on the couch when there was a knock at the door. But before I could get up, the door opened by itself. What the? Wasn't the door locked? The delivery guy's voice held some confusion. Did Jenny's boyfriend forget to close it when he left? I quickly got up and signed for the package on Jenny's behalf. As my eyes casually glanced over the delivery slip, men's sleeping bag. Zack loves sleeping in sleeping bags, wraps himself up like a cocoon. I always tease him, and he just rubs my head helplessly. I can't sleep without a sleeping bag. But why would Jenny buy a men's sleeping bag? Mysterious boyfriend, similar build, identical sleeping bag preference. All of this was starting to feel off. Even someone as dense as me could sense something weird. Jenny came out of the bathroom and took the package from me. I casually asked, "Jenny, are you living with your boyfriend now?" "Sort of." She shook the package in her hand and answered calmly. "He's particular about where he sleeps, can't rest in unfamiliar places." "Didn't your Zack always say he sleeps best in a sleeping bag?" I thought I'd get one for him to try. I couldn't help laughing at myself. What was I thinking? I teased her instead, being so thoughtful to your boyfriend but hiding things from your bestie. Don't tell me. Jenny paused. What? Don't tell me I've been demoted and he outranks me now? I'm warning you, I won't allow that. She laughed and linked arms with me. How could that happen? You'll always be my best friend. That's more like it. I pulled a gift box from my suitcase and handed it to her. This is why I ended my trip early. Go on. Open it. Jenny opened the box, then froze. Chapter 3. Inside the box was a handbag from Hermes. Jenny's expression froze, her eyes shimmered with unshed tears, and her lips trembled slightly. What's wrong? Don't you like it? I asked nervously. Of course I do. But, how did you know? Jenny threw her arms around me in a tight hug. Before my business trip, I had accidentally overheard her on the phone with someone, saying she wanted this bag, but there was none in stock in City A. I combed through boutiques in neighboring cities, and by sheer luck, I found one, just to surprise Jenny. I stayed up 3 nights in a row and cut my trip short. The store clerk said I was incredibly lucky. This limited edition only had 2 pieces worldwide, and the other had just been sold. Yes, I truly was lucky to have Jenny as my friend. Jenny and I were classmates in primary school. I was introverted and often bullied, but she always stood in front of me, shielding me. She transferred schools, but years later, we reunited in high school. In our senior year, when my brother's wedding needed money, my family tried to make me quit school and marry off for dowry. Jenny was the one who helped me escape. We both got into universities in City A. I had good grades and always shared my scholarship money with her. After graduation, my career took off quickly, and I immediately helped Jenny get into a leading company with real potential. We've supported each other all the way, closer than family. Suddenly, there was a muffled thud from the room. What was that sound? I asked, getting up to check. Jenny quickly grabbed me. My room's packed with stuff. Must have been something falling. You're not allowed to go in. You'll just laugh at me again. She got up and walked toward the bedroom. I sat back down. Fine. I won't. I'm just afraid you'll drag me in to help clean up. Your mess is something I honestly can't deal with. Jenny might look put together out in public, but her place is always a wreck. If I didn't schedule someone to help her clean every week, who knows what state this place would be in. I didn't know how much time had passed before I heard the sound of a door opening. That's when I realized I had fallen asleep. I had gotten up at 3 a.m. to catch the flight. No wonder I was exhausted. Suddenly I remembered, if Zack the jealous maniac found out I came to Jenny's place first after getting back early, he'd definitely throw a fit. I quickly stood up. Jenny, I've got to head home. Jenny came out of her bedroom in pajamas. Want me to give you a ride? I gave her a look. You're already in pajamas, if I still let you drive me. What kind of person would I be? She tugged my hand playfully. I slept late last night and woke up early today. My sweet Lucy. I knew you'd look out for me. Her scent felt oddly familiar. Before I could think more, she had already let go. My eyes landed on something dark green on the sofa. I reached over and pulled it out. It was a tie. The pattern on it was the one I had designed myself for our wedding, one of a kind. I paused, confused, and looked at Jenny. She giggled. You forgot? The night before your trip, We had dinner together. Zack left his tie here. That's right, now that she mentioned it. I vaguely remembered. I complained. Why hasn't he come to get it? Waiting for someone to hand deliver it? You know how he is. The two of us can't stand each other. Less contact is better. Since you're here, you can take it with you. I waved goodbye to Jenny and headed home in high spirits. The moment I opened the door, I shouted, "Surprise! Hubby, I missed you!" But the only thing that greeted me was an empty, cold home. Chapter 4. The place felt lifeless, like no one had been living there for days. Where was Zack? A chill ran down my spine, and my mind spun with countless thoughts, pushing down the rising panic. I called Zack on video. The long, dragging ringtone only made my heart sink deeper. Just before it could hang up, his face appeared on screen, sweaty and flustered. I trembled as I picked up the phone. "Honey, where are you?" "I'm on a business trip." Something came up suddenly. Zack replied gently. "Since you were also away, I figured I'd get back before you and didn't want to worry you." "Why are you sweating so much?" I tried to sound calm. "Just came from a meeting, forgot my phone. Then I heard your custom ringtone echoing in the hallway, so I ran back." As he spoke, he turned the camera around to show a hotel room. I secretly sighed in relief. "You didn't have to rush back. I wouldn't be upset if you returned my call later. I just don't want to disappoint my wife." My heart melted. "When will you be home?" "Tomorrow." That reminded me of Jenny's boyfriend. I couldn't help but gossip. "By the way, did you know Jenny's seeing someone? I was at her place this morning and almost walked in on him. Too bad I didn't catch his face." "Aren't you two basically the same person? If she didn't even tell you, why would she tell me?" Zack sounded completely unconcerned. "Fair point." I dropped it. Not long after we ended the call, one of Zack's coworkers phoned. "Hey, sis-in-law, Zack's on a business trip and said he's worried about you being home alone. If you need anything, just say the word." "All good. I took the red-eye flight this morning and plan to crash this afternoon. Unless it's the end of the world. Don't bother coming over, but thanks." Haha. Don't mention it. Everyone at the company knows Zack may seem cold and ruthless on the outside, but in private, he's the ultimate wife simp. "You're always number one." I laughed and hung up. Just as I was about to nap, the company called to say I had to report in tomorrow. When I checked my bag, I realized I'd left the document folder at Jenny's place. So I had to head back. She wasn't home, and her phone wasn't picking up. I had no choice but to punch in the code again and grab the folder. Just as I was about to leave, I noticed a meal container on the dining table, takeout from Seafood Porridge in South City, Zack's favorite. Then I looked toward the entryway. A pair of men's slippers, size 45, just like Zack's, sat neatly on the shoe rack. I froze, staring at them. I didn't even know what I was thinking. My head was a chaotic mess. I shook it hard, trying to scatter the wild thoughts. Maybe I was just sleep-deprived. A nap would clear it all up. I had just shut the door behind me when Jenny's neighbor, an elderly lady, came over. "Miss, I could have sworn a delivery came for me this morning. Now it's gone. I'm getting old. My memory and eyesight aren't great. Can you help me check the security footage?" It seemed she mistook me for Jenny, and I didn't correct her. I helped her check the camera recordings. No delivery had arrived. Just as I was about to close the footage, my fingertip hovered over the screen. And in that instant, a flashing image appeared, like lightning striking through the dark, freezing me on the spot. Chapter 5. I slammed the pause button and froze the footage, my fingers trembling as I dragged the timeline back, second by agonizing second. On the screen, just moments after I had left, Jenny, all smiles and charm, walked out the front door arm in arm with a man, sweet and intimate. That man must have sensed something. He casually turned to glance at the security camera. That face I knew down to the very bone. Those eyes that had gazed at me with love on countless nights. It was Zack. Every drop of blood in my body seemed to freeze. My head buzzed as if it would explode. So the man in the bathroom that morning was him. He had never left. He just remotely controlled the smart lock to make it seem like he did. Hands shaking, I scrubbed through more footage. In the 2 months I was away, Zack had been living with Jenny. They came and went together like husband and wife. My heart sank lower and lower. March 23rd, 1 p.m. Jenny and Zack saw me off at the airport. At 2 p.m., the two of them returned home together and didn't leave again until the next day. The ride from the airport to her place was exactly 1 hour. March 22nd. The night before my trip, Zack and I left Jenny's together. But at 11 p.m., he went back. He didn't leave until 3 a.m. He was still wearing that dark green tie, the one I designed for our wedding. March 15th, our wedding anniversary, Zack spent 2 hours at Jenny's. That day, he told me he had to work late. February 17th, my birthday. February 10th, January 26th. The calendar flipped, one page at a time. Each date struck me like a knife to the chest. I stared blankly at the footage, ears ringing, my soul feeling like it had floated right out of my body. "Miss, are you okay?" The neighbor auntie's voice pulled me back. I forced out a smile more painful than tears. "I'm fine, I should go." She smiled kindly. "You've been dating that young man for 3 years now, right? When are you getting married? You two look like such a perfect couple. Your kids are bound to be beautiful. And he's so tall and handsome, looks like a dependable one." 3 years. Zack and I had been married for 3 years. Did they start seeing each other before that? Or after? My knees almost gave out. I just wanted to escape this suffocating building. I reached out to open the door. Ding! The elevator arrived. Jenny's voice floated up the hallway. "She's napping this afternoon. We've got time to enjoy ourselves." "But, is this really the end after today?" Zack's voice, calm and steady. "I can't let her get hurt." Suddenly, I was terrified. I didn't want to hear more. I let go of the doorknob and stumbled backward. But their voices kept piercing through. Jenny's tone turned tender. "These 2 months, we were like a real married couple. To have had it once is enough." Zack said, "This morning was my fault. I got careless. You know I can't lose Luciana. It won't happen again. But I can't control myself. I love you too much. I want all of your love." "I know. Can you grant me one last wish?" "What is it?" "I want a fireworks show. You've never once said you love me, not even once. Even if today's our last day. Even just once. I want you to say it. In front of the whole world." Silence. "Okay. I know your heart still belongs to Luciana. But if you could say there's still a place for me in it, I could die happy. There will always be a corner of my heart that belongs to you." Hearing that is enough for a lifetime. Jenny choked out. Chapter 6. As soon as I heard the door slam shut, I bolted. I hailed a cab and aimlessly asked the driver to just keep driving. 1 loop. 2 loops. My mind had completely short-circuited. I was nothing but an empty shell running on autopilot. "Miss, where do you want to go?" the taxi driver asked, glancing at me through the rearview mirror. "You don't look so good." "Want me to take you home?" "I'm fine. Please take me to the riverside," I murmured, my thoughts slowly clicking back into place. That riverside, that was where Zack and Jenny had planned to hold the firework confession. The grand gesture meant to seal their secret farewell. I needed to see it with my own eyes. I needed to witness the man I loved, the man I trusted for 3 years, confess his eternal corner of affection to my best friend of over 20 years. The river breeze was damp and cold, brushing against my face, gentle yet merciless. Around me, the crowd buzzed with excitement. "Did you hear? Someone rented the whole city bridge for a big proposal tonight. Even the river's closed to traffic. Just the fireworks cost over $5 million. The light show? Another 2. Renting the bridge? Add another 2. This whole event's gotta be $10 million at least." 10 million. These rich folks really don't know where to burn their cash, do they? What do you know? That's romance. That's money can't buy my joy kinda love, okay? Romance? Some romance is watered with betrayal and soaked in someone else's tears. Listening to the crowd's envious praise, I felt nothing, just a creeping numbness. As if an invisible hand had wrapped around my throat, strangling every breath. At exactly 8 p.m., the show began. Brilliant heart-shaped fireworks soared into the ink-black sky, bursting open with thunderous bangs, sprinkling shimmering sparks that lit up the rippling river below, and lit up my pale, drained face. People always use fleeting things like fireworks to symbolize love, to mark something eternal. How ironic. Look. Wow. It's gorgeous. The fireworks have letters ZS. Who are they? Must be true love. Gasps and squeals erupted through the crowd. Check the big screen. 2 silhouettes. The guys kneeling, holding flowers. Ah. They hugged. They kissed. Is this a drama come to life or what? Another girl shrieked. Must be a proposal. Who could say no to that? This is once-in-a-lifetime romantic. A once-in-a-lifetime memory. Yes, one I'll never forget. Who would have guessed that this dreamy, extravagant, wildly romantic proposal was actually a farewell ceremony for 2 cheating lovers? Just then, a boat appeared on the river, draped in white silk on all sides. Drones buzzed around it, encircling it in a heart-shaped halo of twinkling lights. Pink petals rained down from the sky, blanketing the boat in surreal beauty. A scene worthy of any fairy tale. Chapter 7. Do you think those 2 on the boat are the ones being confessed to? Has to be. I mean, with a show this big, they've gotta be here. Too bad we're too far to see their faces. Maybe it's because they've got something to hide, that's why they're hiding on the boat. All secretive. Wow. You're so cynical. Who would spend millions on a public confession if they had something to hide? They're probably just trying to stay low-key and avoid the crowd. I stared at that yacht, drenched in falling petals, and suddenly remembered Zack's first confession to me. It was after our university dance. He'd fallen for me at first sight and started creating all sorts of clumsy coincidences to run into me. Back then, I was insecure and guarded. I thought he was just playing around and rejected him again and again. The last time, he told me quietly that he wouldn't bother me anymore, then turned and walked away. Just then, a car spun out of control, jumped the curb, and came straight at me. He was the one who threw himself forward and pushed me out of the way. He ended up with a fractured leg and landed in the hospital. I took care of him, day and night, and slowly realized, this seemingly careless rich boy actually meant every word he'd said. He wasn't playing with my heart. I told myself, once he's discharged, I'll say yes. But when the day came, he pulled me aside and said, a confession shouldn't be careless. Just wait a little longer. The next day, he lit up the courtyard outside my dorm with thousands of candles, shaped into a giant heart. He stood in the center, surrounded by Juliet roses, and shouted his love to the world. Even more surprising, the lights in the dorms began to flicker rhythmically, spelling out our names. It turned out he'd enlisted help from the whole school. All these years later, his style hadn't changed. Still the same grand gestures, just even more extravagant now. Miss, why are you crying? Are you that moved? Oh no, don't cry. This is such a beautiful moment. Honestly, this scene's so romantic. It makes me want to fall in love too. A passerby handed me a tissue with concern. Only then did I realize my face was soaked. At some point, the tears had started falling uncontrollably. I took the tissue and wiped them away aimlessly. Yeah, I'm just really touched. As cheers, gasps, and applause erupted all around me, I let myself break down completely. Luciana, 26 years old, outwardly successful, a bright, decisive career woman, had once crawled out of the darkest pits. I grew up in a family where boys were valued over girls. After having my brother, my parents had hoped for another son, then came me. I wasn't raised so much as used. A free maid for my brother. From a young age, I was responsible for his chores, his meals, his laundry, everything. In that home, I had no name, just insults, useless girl, money-losing good for nothing, from countless wounds and humiliations. I slowly learned how to protect myself, how to withstand life's storms. I thought the sky had finally cleared, but life had just struck again, crueler than ever. And that's okay. The armor I once shed, I can wear it again. Starting tomorrow, I'll become the strong Luciana once more. Those who've hurt me, I don't want them anymore. Chapter 8. Back home, I gathered everything Zack had ever gifted me over the years, and burned them all in one clean blaze downstairs. Then I returned to my bedroom and had one of the best sleeps in months. I thought I'd lie awake all night. Instead, it was peaceful, deep, healing. The next morning, I was back, Luciana, marketing manager of Huayao Tech. Sharp and unstoppable, My performance review was a resounding success. My numbers, my vision, my leadership unanimously praised. As I stepped off the stage, the room erupted in applause. Sandra, my mentor and direct supervisor, came over with a smile and patted my shoulder. You were phenomenal. HQ just opened a position in City C to lead a new operations center. 2 years ago, you turned down the transfer to City B. This opportunity's even bigger. You should really think about it. Sometimes, life turns on just 1 or 2 key decisions. Sandra, I've thought it through. I'll go. I had once refused to leave City A because of Zack, Jenny, and everything I was familiar with. But now, what was left to hold me back? That's great to hear. I'll talk to HQ, you'll report in a month. Sandra's eyes sparkled with pride and hope. After work, some close colleagues and I chatted about my upcoming move to HQ. Just as we stepped out of the building, a familiar voice broke through our conversation. Lucy, where are you going? I just got back from my trip. And now you're leaving again? Zack. I didn't even notice him walking up behind us. He looked nervous, his voice unsure. I gestured for my colleagues to go ahead, then turned and said calmly, "It's not me, it's a colleague who's leaving." As always, Zack was attentive. He took my bag, helped me out of my coat. "I've got a surprise for you." He led me to our favorite restaurant, the one that was always booked weeks in advance. "I know the food here suits your taste, so I bought it. Anytime you want to eat here, it's yours. No more waiting for reservations." He pulled out my chair. I forced a smile and nodded. He must have noticed the chill in my tone. He leaned in carefully, whispering, "What's wrong, Lucy? Are you feeling okay?" I casually blamed it on fatigue. The trip was a rush job. Barely slept, just tired. That night, the bedroom lights were dim and soft. I sat on the bed, staring out the window, mind spinning with plans. Suddenly, Zack hugged me from behind. His breath was hot against my neck, voice low and suggestive. "Baby, it's been so long. Did you miss me?" The second he touched me, I felt sick. Images from the surveillance camera, his intimacy with Jenny, flooded my mind. My stomach churned. I shoved him away and ran to the bathroom, retching violently over the toilet, bile burning my throat. He rushed in behind me, no sign of disgust, gently patting my back. "Baby, what's wrong? Did you eat something bad?" I'd thrown up on his expensive custom suit pants. He didn't even flinch, just kept comforting me. My heart twisted. He's a neat freak, yet he ignored the mess, just for me. I didn't understand. If he truly loved me, why did he cheat? If he didn't, why be so caring, so gentle? Tears blurred my vision. I was a wreck. He panicked. "No, this isn't okay. I'm taking you to the hospital." I forced myself up and rasped, "No. I'm fine, just an upset stomach. I need rest." He didn't insist, just stayed by the bed all night, watching over me like a devoted husband. Chapter 9. The next morning, Zack tiptoed to my bedside. "How are you feeling? Any better?" "I'm fine," I replied. "Still, don't take it lightly. I've made you some congee, easy to digest. Don't go to work today, just rest at home." I nodded and agreed. But the moment he left for the office, I rushed to the hospital. Sitting in the back seat of the taxi, my heart was clenched tight. Last night, it suddenly struck me, I hadn't had my period for 2 months. Because of childhood malnutrition, I'd always had irregular cycles, so I hadn't paid much attention. But now, an unease crept into my chest. The test confirmed it. I was pregnant. I clutched that thin piece of paper, my palms soaked in sweat. A living life. For 3 years of marriage, Zack and I had hoped for this moment. We'd imagined our child countless times, what they would look like, what we'd name them, how we'd shower them with love. But now, at the moment this little soul arrived, our relationship was shattered beyond repair. If I chose to keep this baby, I'd be bound to Zack forever in endless entanglement. And that was not the future I wanted. Tears blurred my vision. In my heart, I whispered, "I'm sorry, baby. I decided to get an abortion. I couldn't bear to see Zack right now. I needed time to heal and to replan my life." So I sent him a message saying I'd be going on another work trip. Then, I scheduled the procedure, but on the second day of hospitalization, Zack found me. The moment I saw him, my heart tightened. Of course, he had every one of my coworkers' contacts. Back then, I thought that was love. Now, I realized it was just another form of control. He stood at the doorway of the hospital room, red-eyed and anguished. Why? Lucy? Why are you doing this? Why are you getting rid of our baby? I answered calmly. Because it came at the wrong time. His expression twisted. He erupted. Then when is the right time? You've always put work above me. And now you don't even want our child. I don't get it. I've achieved so much. I can give you anything. Why do you still fight so hard instead of just enjoying life? Just then, his phone rang, interrupting his outburst. He glanced at the screen and quickly declined the call. I didn't need to guess. It was obviously Jenny. He opened his mouth to speak, but the phone rang again. This time, he hesitated, then murmured into the phone. I'm tied up. Wait a bit. Ding ding ding. A string of message alerts. He glanced at the screen again, his face shifted. Restless now. He said, there's something urgent at work. I'll be right back. Then he left in a hurry. I quietly followed him, stopping at the stairwell corner, and there I saw her, Jenny, waiting for him. Zack. I'm 3 months pregnant. Impossible. We've always used protection, no matter what. Get rid of it. But you and Luciana haven't had a child. I thought you always wanted one. I told you, it's over. Don't ruin what we had. My child can only be born from Luciana. That line, maybe once. It would have touched me. Now, it just made me sick. But Luciana doesn't want to have your child at all. She's always about work. Remember last time you begged her? She still chose a 2-month trip over you. She'll never be your muse. Your sanctuary. But I can. Zack. This might be your only chance at having a child. I know you love Luciana. I won't interfere with your life. If you let me keep this baby, I'll leave the country. Luciana will never find out. You can visit us once or twice a year. That's all I ask. Zack said nothing. Sometimes, silence says everything. I knew he was tempted. Chapter 10. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Today marked 2 milestones. Zack's gaming company was about to go public, and I was leaving for City C. Zack's family business had always been rooted in real estate. But in recent years, with the market's downturn, the company had been surviving on fumes and legacy capital. His new gaming company was their last shot at a comeback. The company specialized in automn games, romantic simulation games tailored with AI to create customized experiences for each player. This innovation sent ripples through the industry. And his carefully curated devoted husband image? It won the hearts of millions of female players, driving massive traffic and user loyalty. But all of it was about to backfire. For the past half-month, I'd observed everything with a cold eye, quietly collecting evidence of Zack and Jenny's betrayal. Photos, videos, chat logs. Every trace of their affair was organized and preserved. On the day of the IPO, I anonymously sent all the evidence to major media outlets and gaming forums, and paid over $1 million to mobilize a wave of sponsored outrage. Within moments, the internet erupted. Zack's beloved husband persona crumbled spectacularly. Netizens swarmed to condemn his hypocrisy and deceit. The company's stock value plunged. The IPO itself teetered on collapse. When Zack saw the cheating evidence handed to him by his assistant, the ever-composed man actually staggered and collapsed. He frantically called me, messaged me, but I'd already blocked him on every platform. He dropped everything and rushed back to our home. But what greeted him was an empty apartment, and a divorce agreement on the coffee table. His career would never recover from this blow. Our finances had always been separate. I only took what was mine. Before leaving, I arranged to meet Jenny one last time. Jenny, I know everything, I said calmly. While I was away these past 2 months, you and Zack were living together, weren't you? Her body stiffened. She lowered her head, avoiding my eyes. Her silence was confirmation. When did it start? Her head dropped even lower. Still, she said nothing. You purposely let me overhear you wanting that Hermes bag, didn't you? You knew I'd buy it for you. You staged everything, so I'd accidentally catch you with Zack, making it look like a mistake. A coincidence, right? My voice trembled, but I held it steady. You didn't expect me to figure it out, not then, but later. I saw everything. Jenny finally looked up, eyes brimming with tears. Lucy, since you know already, maybe it's better this way. I really love Zack. You've always been so good to me. Please let me have him. Her voice was pleading, yet tinged with something disturbingly entitled. I stared at her, stunned. Tell me, why does it have to be Zack? Out of all the men in this world, why him? Jenny suddenly grew emotional. Zack and I were each other's first love in middle school. We knew each other first. His family looked down on mine, so we were forced apart. You're the one who came between us. You're the third party. When you introduced us, he pretended not to know me, but when I asked to meet in private, he came immediately. He still had feelings for me. And don't forget, if it weren't for me, you'd have married some drifter from your village. You'd never have had a chance to meet someone like Zack. Seeing her so hysterical, I knew she'd lost all sense. Nothing I said would get through. So be it, I said quietly. You can have him. I don't want him anymore, and I don't want you either. Chapter 11. 2 months later. My life and work in City C had already found their rhythm. Zack found me while I was preparing a critical project proposal. He looked utterly wrecked, unkempt, hollow-eyed, a shadow of his former self. I'd heard the rumors. The family was deeply disappointed in his actions. He had been stripped of his position and cast out, no longer the golden boy of the family. But he didn't seem to care. He'd been asking around about me, frantically trying to track me down. Luciana, I know I was wrong. Please, give me another chance? His voice was hoarse, pleading. I set down my files and looked at him, my voice steady. Zack, it's over between us. The choices you made already determined that there's no going back. No, Lucy. I love you. Only you. Jenny meant nothing to me. I was only with her because her family promised investment. She threatened to pull out if I didn't comply. I did it all for us, so you wouldn't have to work so hard. I already made her abort the child. Lucy, you know I only ever loved you. You love me too. We can't just throw it all away. I cut him off. Zack, it's too late. I don't want to hear this anymore. But he didn't give up. Day after day, he showed up outside my company, loitered near my apartment, begging for my forgiveness. And then one day, Jenny appeared, heavily pregnant. She stood in front of me, furious. Luciana, why are you playing both sides? You said you don't want Zack, so why are you still stringing him along? He's having a child with me. Isn't this too cruel of you? Zack had lied to me again, but at this point, my heart felt nothing. Jenny, who ruined my relationship with Zack in the first place? And now you have the audacity to accuse me? Zack has legs. Did I force him to come crawling after me? You. Jenny's face turned pale, unable to retort. Zack, let's go. She doesn't want you. But I do. I already talked to my father. He's agreed to reinvest in your company. The three of us will be a happy family. Jenny clung to his arm. I'm not going. Zack flung her hand away. Luciana, are you really this heartless? After all these years together, you're just going to walk away? Jenny snapped. She screamed at him. Zack, look at her. She doesn't even care about you. Why are you humiliating yourself for her? Zack didn't turn around. He shoved her back. Stay away from me. You want to keep that baby. Fine, that's your choice. But don't expect me to acknowledge it. Jenny went ghost white. She glared at me with hatred before storming off. But moments later, she returned, in a car, and drove straight at me. Luciana, watch out! Zack shouted, lunging forward and pushing me out of the way. Crash. I watched, wide-eyed, as Zack was thrown through the air. Jenny was arrested and later sentenced to prison for attempted homicide. Zack was left paralyzed. I visited him once at the hospital. He lay on the bed, eyes hollow, all his former pride and confidence erased. Zack. My heart twisted with a tangle of emotions. He had betrayed me. Yes, but I never wanted him to be destroyed like this. He turned to look at me, his eyes dark with regret. Luciana, go. This is my punishment. Forget me. I knew then, with his pride, he would never chase after me again. I left the hospital without another word, and then, I poured myself into my work. Years later, I stood as a board director of my company, gazing out from the floor-to-ceiling windows of my office, overlooking the city below. The road ahead was still long. There would be more challenges, more pain, more choices, but I was no longer afraid, because I knew that what doesn't kill me will only make me stronger. My life is mine alone to shape.